Hello, guys.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening.
Good
Um,
evening.
so let us start the proceeding. So good evening, wherever you are in whichever geography. Maybe good morning to you, or good afternoon, or maybe it's late evening. This is our effort to connect with keeping universal acceptance in front of us, and it's really an universal acceptance from all over the world that we like to do for next 3 hours or so. And we have this is how we structured our programs. We have UA ambassadors, Aman with us, who is working with Radix, and he has vast experience on usage and misuses of domain names, and how people can be protected from that. And he can share a lot of his experiences on this. And he has very hands-on experiences on how to taste your portals, and which millions of users, I would say, using day in day out. And we also have Harish Chaudhary with us, who will be also talking about EAI, email address internationalization, and his experiences on how we can make it more compliant and what we can do from our side. Before we go and listen from Aman and Harish, um, I would I would request them to add something probably on top of what I have mentioned, because there are quite a few things that they are doing and engaged right now. I'm just leaving it to them for them to just fill those gaps. My name is Sushanta Sinha. I'm also an EU ambassador. And by the way, both Aman and Harish are Universal Acceptance Ambassadors from India. And we are working with UASG as a group, and advocating for universal acceptance. It's a journey, and it started some time back, and it's a lot of hope and opportunities out there. Now, before we go, let me just set the context, if that is okay for both Aman and Harish, that I can give you some kind of a context from where you can launch, and for everybody's understanding. Some of you might be knowing that when we talk about internet for all, so we just really like to know that where we really stand in terms of uh, you know internet for all. Let me just see. I just like this, that how it things evolve on um, starting from someone's awareness. Like I always give this example that the way we say your smoking is injurious to health. I am aware. Yes, I am aware. Once I aware, do I admit? Do I accept that it is injurious to health? Yes, it is. And then probably I adopt some of these practices. So if we can take that from that perspective, that how much we are aware about this internationalizations of domain names and email address, and what all we can do, and what are still are done by now. So, so this is a huge area. Like many of these people might not be aware today that we can actually communicate through our own languages, our own scripts, going beyond ASCII formats or English as a language, or maybe kind of those languages who support only ASCII. And it may be very close to our heart. And yes, I know I can exchange some of the contents using my languages, but what is there behind this? How the system can actually enable me? Are you aware? Maybe not. So the first thing that probably we like to see people, that you get more aware on that. Are you aware that today India government has actually uh, already have quite a few languages, 14, 50 languages, where you can have your .bharat domain set up. I myself has my own in Bangla, Sushanta.bharat. So, oh, I didn't know this. So where do I go and find it? There are a lot of opportunities to CVSG group that you can explore. Okay, so this is the first level probably we need to overcome. Um, Segregation between the people who are not aware against people who are aware of universal acceptance as a whole. Now, okay, I have met people who said, "Well, I know I can exchange for in my own language, but what's the big deal? I mean, I know a fair amount of English as a communicating language, and I can do. WhatsApp, I can do communicate through social networking using English, maybe in English script, but in my own language. So why it is absolutely necessary for do that? So there are acceptance on that. Yes, UA is important, and it is a future. It is a risk if I don't be compliant on this, or it has a huge business opportunity in front of us. So that is the next level. Probably we need to go and let people accept that okay, this is an area which is much more important when we say internet for all. Okay, and there are areas where we're still not accepting things the way it should be. Still we're not processing it the way it should be or displaying it the way it should be. And yes, I know this is what the risk and I accept it. Fine. So I am aware that it can be done, something cannot be done, and I accept that it is a risk and it's an opportunity for me or for us as a business. Then what next? So what are the practices that I can take? What are the tweaking I can do in my applications or my setups or my infrastructure so that it becomes UA compliant? So that is that. I think probably the highest level that we want to reach, and we are partly, we are everywhere. We have people who are still not aware. We need to make them aware. We have people who are not still been accepting that EVA is important, and it's a risk and an opportunity. We need to convince them and make them accept that this is important. And we also have started practicing to adapt, and make it compliant. Some of these important breakthroughs are already been done, but we have a long way to go. A long way to go. So this is how I see this way, and this is we are probably better here. Not much breakthrough in this areas, and that is where our we as a community we have to drive and need to. Okay, so this is what I think. That's why it's very important that we engage with communities, engage with people, and come to this level. Now, before I think Aman and Harish talks about the nuances of all those things, let us just quickly touch base that what are the important areas that we'll be talking about. We talk about this domain name systems. We often go to any websites and we type the websites. So if we just see quickly that how we refer this as the top level domains and then subdomains and subdomains of the TLDs. This is how maybe you can just look at it. If you have a site like www.gov.in is WIN is in India is the top level domain you're talking about. And earlier it was a very limited top level domains with some of these countries as a prefix and some of these common things like .com, .org, .net, and our usage was very much limited to that. Now, over years, we came out from that. We have extended that, and even in ASCII, we got, came out from this three latest things to an extended one. Again, we went beyond an ASCII to other languages. So this is where this complexity, this is where things become more complex for us, and this is where we need to really work on and see that how we can make it, an universal thing for every language, every domain to work seamlessly without any hazards. So that is what this group is working on, and this is where we are placed. There are links I can just show you that where you can go and find on the list of domains that is there out today, but I'm not going into the details. We may just just quickly before I know this, Aman and Harish might will be touching this. That when you talk about this IDNs, these are some of the representations that you're talking about. So we have some examples like a combination of multiple types of characters and which is converted into U level and A level. I have an example for the next here. So basically, what happens is if you write, see, I'm just giving an example, which is a grave accent of E in some of the languages that they use. It can be represented with this UTF transformations with U plus this hex numbers. Okay, Now the problem is it can be represented multiple ways. It is not unique. So you can either write it like this, or you can write it and then a space and then take the accent like this, which is u plus 0065 and u plus 0300. This is becoming more technical, but the problem is if I represent it in multiple ways and my system does not understand this, so how to address that? So the next step that we normally do is we normalize this and we say, okay, for both of this representation, I would only take u plus 00E8 as my this. So somewhere this normalization has to work in between. Okay, so this is an important component. That's why I just mentioned that. If I go back to my earlier example, so all these things when it comes in terms of representing your emails or IDNs, so this is where the complexity comes on how we represent it and how system can uniquely identify that. Okay, so these are the nuances that we normally set, and I think people will be touching it. When it comes to this email, we normally write this email on a mailbox and then the domain names, and both sides can have this, um, the international representations with beyond ASCII kind of characters. Either your domain names will be having your TLDs or even subdomain IDs, which is non-ASCII, and your this name also as well can be. So all this complexity will come, and our good friends will talk about some of the real challenges that they face on the ground if your system cannot accept this kind of address as a email address, whether it is on your form or it is on your communicating contact numbers or contact informations, wherever it might be. Okay, so these are some of these examples that we use. That your TLDs may be like this, your second level might be like this, your TLD may be a normal one, an ASCII one, your user may be this, or maybe it's any combinations of that. Okay, so these are the complexity that we're talking about. Some of these examples of where we have the risk and where how we can overcome that. Some of this like your I my application is written considering my TLD is only .NET .org 3 letters. It cannot accept something more than that, so it will fail. It cannot accept some websites, even if it is an ASCII, but it is a longer, than usual the length. Okay, so this is a very primitive, but these are the areas probably some of your applications, some of the things may not work just because you thought that okay, your TLDs will be only a related kind of an size length and it will fail. If you go something beyond that, okay, it cannot take this international domains, international characters, the Unicode characters beyond ASCII, so it will fail. Even if you have everything normal, like your .com or something we are using it, but if you have some users having their contact emails, contact numbers, names, having those kind of characters, that also will fail. So your business, normal business, will be impacted if you really do not take into consideration your own this universal acceptance as a key component of your normal business area that you're working. So this is why the not only it is just a delighter for you, but it is a necessity today that in order to run your business properly, you need to take care of UA. Now, as I said, if you see how the demography has changed for your internet users, sometime back probably it was more dominated by the research community and business people based out of US, and English speaking languages are dominating this net. But as the years pass by, we have seen more and more, the countries which are dominantly non-English speaking, they're having their own dominant local language. They are dominating the net. Okay, so there is a huge flux in the business areas, user base, um, with this kind of a composition. Okay, so when ICANN has actually opening up the new set of TLDs, new set of domains having this international characters, and there will be existing users will be using this new ones, and there will be new set of huge number of user bases who will be coming up into the system. So how to handle the infrastructure, how to handle the entire ecosystem, and there is huge opportunity for business as well for them. Okay. So this is something that is coming up, and this is coming up really heavily and really fast. And are we prepared for that? And that is why we are actually organizing this kind of workshops. I'll not talk about this. I know Harish will talk about this when we talk about email systems, how its email user agent works, how the submission and transmission. Everybody in the ecosystem has to be compliant with your EA, and that's how the entire system. So basically, I just went up with saying that okay, what exactly is this universal acceptance is people from around the world can effectively use any domain names. So mind it, some of the languages are right to left as well. Okay, so the way I used to write, can my system support that? Any domain name, any email address in any applications for their personal and business use. Bottom line is this, okay, everybody should use it use the internet as easy. Okay, so 5 pillars. The way I accept any kind of informations. Can I be compliant with UA? Can I accept it properly? If someone sends an email with an ID with international characters with beyond ASCII characters, can I validate it whether it is a right or wrong email? In many cases, many of the checks will fail because they will consider this as a spam, or they will consider this an invalid because they don't even consider anything non-ASCII as a valid one. Can I validate it properly? Can I process it properly? Can I store it properly? And most importantly, can I display it? Because if I cannot display in the language that they communicate, I will lose that connectivity with the users the way they want to see it. So all these 5 are the key pillars of UA, and everything that we do, everything that we test, everything that we do business with, and considering that UA is an important component, this acceptance of those, validation of those, processing those information, storing as well as displaying are the key 5 areas that we focus on. Okay, so these are whatever our discussions will be, it will be around this only. Okay, so I'm not going into the details of your every their acceptance and every component, every pillar of this, but this is essentially the intent for our entire community. Okay, so I'm not going beyond this. We have a UA steering group led by Dr. Ajay Data, and we are the ambassadors. We are working for this group and to drive this. I will just stop here. Aman, if I miss something, maybe you can take it from there, but I don't want to take it any further in the sense that I just probably set the context, and then probably you can take it from here.
Right, thank you, Sushanta, and good evening, everyone who's tuning in at this particular hour. And thank you so much, Sushanta, for that introduction and basically the overview that you have given. It's actually kind of really set the tone for today's discussion and giving the audience an overview of what universal acceptance is. What are the various forms of TLDs that we are looking at now, how domains and email addresses are evolving, let's say, or have evolved right now. And basically it's the mass appeal that we're talking about, that it's going to garner with people who speak the local languages, and basically opening up the full potential of the internet to everyone, basically. So I believe that you've covered everything, almost everything over there. And what I would want to probably, would want to cover in this particular session is about knowing your gaps. All right, where are the problem areas that that need to be addressed, or basically at least what you can see. And before I get into that, I'll just give a brief introduction about my role with Radix and the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. And then we can straight away dive into the research work that we've done, and the amount of testing that we've done, and we'll just give certain things, put certain things in perspective for the audience here today, as to realize the potential of where they can pitch in and where they can contribute, or at least where they can participate, and probably in their own ways become like mini ambassadors for this wonderful topic that we've taken up today. So uh, so I work with Radix. Like Sushanta says, Radix is a new GTLD provider. Now, Sushanta, in his brief introduction, covered that there were new TLDs introduced by ICANN, and Radix is one of those new GTLD providers, and we manage like 11 new GTLDs. Our website UASG is on one of the Radix TLDs.tech domains. So we have extensions like tech, online, and all. Now, UA related issues becomes really personal for people who are working in the new GTLD namespace. And I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, it's your end customer who's bought those domain names, who is a consumer of those TLDs, and he wants the assurance that this particular TLD or this particular domain name that they bought is working on all the applications that are out there seamlessly, as any other legacy TLD would work. Now, it's a very basic, want. All right, it's something that a client would not even think about. Like, he's just bought a domain name, he saw for the vanity of it, and he expects it to work. But does it really work? All right, does it really work? Uh, when we say that the domain names and the email addresses have evolved, have the systems evolved along with them? Are the systems evolved to basically accept those domain names within their system? And when Sushanta was talking about the fact that, hey, there are stages to, acceptance, right from acceptance and validating and processing and storing and then display. So are the systems doing that? Are your favorite systems, the ones that you use day in and day out, are they using it? I really don't know. So yeah, I mean, without further ado, I can start with these testing systems that we have taken up. And in fact, why is it so important for us to test these systems? Is because we want to be the customer's voice. It's the end customer who's the consumer of the TLD, and we want to share that experience with the entire industry. And basically whoever can basically help out, pitch out, report, help in testing, help in implementation, help in solutions. So all of that now comes up like an integrated effort through this wonderful working group that we have. So Sushanta, I'm going to be sharing my screen right now. It's a very recent study that we have done here at Radix on the lines, on the guidelines of the Universal Acceptance Steering Group testing mechanisms. And this is something that I would want to share with you all. Sushanta, is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible.
All right, perfect. So, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Sushanta was earlier talking about, what the 5 verbs of UA readiness is: acceptance, validate, storage, process, and display. Now, as an individual tester, all right, who just knows, there are certain websites out there right now, so, or platforms out there. What exactly are you going to test? As an individual user, you really can't test SAP solutions. You really can't test very local or specific applications developed for a specific purpose that is not in the public space. You really can't test those. What we can really test is the um, the websites, the applications, the day in and day out usage of popular networks that are out there, and test it to some extent about their UA readiness. Are they UA ready or not? Now, when you say are they UA ready, you have to break things down into various features. All right. So let's say if I say application one, is it UA ready or not? I have to think about everything right from the sign up on for that particular service. If I sign up using an a new GTLD email address or an IDN email address, is the sign up going to go through successfully or not? Because that's the gateway to any of the services that you use. Once it is there, are that systems, email systems configured, are EA ready to send me emails, confirmation emails, and communicate with my email address once I've used it to sign up? Secondly, there are communication forms available on those websites and portals. Are those forms like your support request forms or feedback forms or contact us forms? Are those forms willing to accept email addresses that are based on new GTLDs or IDNs, or are they just going to fail? And once they accept it, is the communication channels working or not? Now, these are a few questions that we've tried to answer with this particular study, and let's see. Let's go ahead and see. What the results were. Now, what we first started to do is we started testing websites for their UA readiness. All right. Now, when you say websites, do we want to take any of the websites? I'll come to that particular part where, what kind of websites we've taken and what kind of email addresses and domain names we are testing. We can start with this. So the email IDs that we've taken, all right, and just to set the context right, we've taken 3 types of case studies. I know Universal Exception Steering Group has got like 6 case studies on other variants of IDNs available to them, but we knowingly, to extend the volume of testing we did, we stopped at the 3rd case study, which is the very basic form of an IDN based domain name, an email ID based on an IDN based domain name. And technically, if we are getting failure rates on this particular case, their failure rates are just going to increase on the other variants. So we kind of stopped our testing on the 3rd variant, whereas UASG, who's conducted a similar study, in fact, they are the pioneers of the study, and they published reports also. They've actually tested all 6 case studies. And I'll give you the link by the end of this particular session to UASG's report also. Now, the 3 cases, remember the short forms, all right? New short for our context is any new GTLD that is less than 4 characters is called a new short. For example, .xyz is a new short TLD. .fun can be a new short TLD. .uno can be a new short TLD, all right? New long is any new GTLD which is more than 3 characters. For example, .online, .global, .guru, .desi, and you get it. And the 3rd IDN TLD that we took up as an example is datamail.bharat. All right, like Sushanta said in his context, there is .bharat available, and if you basically go ahead and register, and this domain name is in the Devanagari script, and the Devanagari script domain name that we had over here, and I created an email ID over there to test it out as to how things are working over there. By the way, quick shout out that now these languages that Sushanta was talking about, that .bharat is available in, I guess, 22 languages, what Sushanta said. You can get email addresses on all those languages, all right? So maybe we can conclude it at later on, and if you're interested in a Hindi or a Bangla email address, you can actually today get it. All right. What is the scope of testing? What did we do in websites? we checked for acceptance of emails on new TLD domain names for sign up / subscription, and if accepted, email transmission of websites to inboxes. Is there email transmission happening? Plus, we also looked at the contact forms. Any of these websites might have contact us forms. If they had, well and good. If they didn't, we didn't test it. But yeah, we checked out those contact forms also. And again, the communication, the rate of communication from the email servers to the inboxes of those email IDs. The second part that we tested is the social media portals. We basically tested, and that's the second part of my presentation on how social medias and what are the features that we've tested on certain social medias, and they have fared up. So that's what, and I'll just give you a small note on linkification. What is linkification, and what is the various free email service providers that are out there, like a Gmail, Hotmail, and all, how their graphical user interface when you type in emails is, whether it's automatically recognizing and linkifying new GTLDs and Idn domain names as they would have done for a .com domain name. So without further ado, let's look into websites. All right. The total websites that we sampled were 727 websites. All right. Now, these 727 were not randomly picked, they were systematically picked. All right. They were systematically picked based on the number of traffic that we get. All right. In different categories of websites. There is a data provider called SimilarWeb, all right, which is similar to the Amazon Alexa website rankings. And SimilarWeb basically gives you, the amount of traffic generated per website. And we looked at the top traffic generating websites under various categories, all right. And these unique categories, there were 9 categories like arts and entertainment, e-commerce, education, jobs and career, lifestyle, social network, travel and tourism. And the reason we picked out these categories is because we wanted to know which category will involve more signups and day in and day out login and usage of their portals. So we've selected these categories, and our cutoff was at least 10 million users per month should be the traffic. And we ended up with 727 websites to test. Now, the sum of unique visitors in total on these 727 websites was 5.8 billion footsteps that we're talking about. Sum of average monthly visits, 19.9 billion. That is the average monthly visit in total for these 727 websites. Total taste cases that we explored in this website, considering the 3 types of cases and 2 portals that we are testing, the sign up and the contact us, it came to 2,181 test cases. And these websites, like I said, were top of their categories. Some of the points and observations that we came across was that not all websites have sign up or a contact form. All right, not all of them have. Some surprisingly, websites based out of Japan, they were generating huge amount of traffic in one particular region, and and that's how basically they ended up in the top ranking. Just a pointer over here. This needs to know this traffic generation is considering United States, based on their internet penetration and the fact that the consumption of internet on there and the traffic from their perspective, these were the top traffic generating websites. Now, a website sign up form may accept an email, but its contact form might reject it. So this is one thing that we noticed, that a sign up form will accept the new email address, but a contact form will not accept the email address. Might be 2 different pieces of code that are functioning over there. A website may be partially compatible based on that observation. A website may use two different email systems for communication, one for sign up and one for contact us. Could be a different system altogether. A website may just use a single sign on instead of additional sign. Like, if you go to a website, instead of giving your email address to sign up, they would just give like, hey, sign in using your Gmail ID or your Facebook ID. And so we can't really test that out, all right, where the email addresses cannot be entered. A website may not be tested as it is a duplicate alias or redirect to a private portal. Now, what this means essentially, this is also we found out that once you go to a particular website, let's say assuming that there is a lot of traffic, it's a private forum. All it has is a login page, not a sign up, because these are invite only signups that we're talking about. You can't really go ahead and sign up over there. You get sign up only through invitation. That's one part. Then there were other traffic generating websites that we saw that we did not test out. For example, I would say Pinterest.com. All right. Pinterest.com has got multiple redirect websites also, like Pinterest.ca, Pinterest.br for Brazil. All right. And they are just redirecting to the primary website. So some of those redirected websites were also shown into the traffic in our test cases, which we have ignored over there because they were duplicates, because they're redirecting to the same system, and I think that it's the same piece of code that we've already tested. Now, the test case one, if you remember, was for the new short. You remember the .xyz domain name, all right? And here are some of the results that I can show you, all right? The acceptance rate, all right, when you see null over here or not applicable, assume that the sign up is either not applicable or null is like not required to be tested. Like there was nothing over there. We couldn't test case. Consider this as an outlier, the null as an outlier. All right. Focus on accepted rate. All right. So 430 websites had an out of 727 were accepted. All right. If you remove the 224 not applicable, now this is just the raw data. I can show you a summarized data by removing the null and the not applicable, and I can give you what the final outcome was. But this is just for reference over here. You can see how much the acceptance rate for .xyz is there right now for the new short. Once you basically see that, you also need to test out the email deliverability. All right, we saw a sign up email deliverability of around 68.4%, and when it was contact form, 67.4% of the times email once accepted was received on our systems. The new short sign up, this particular graph just shows the magnitude of the acceptance and the rejection. So websites that accepted, all right, websites that shows the acceptance has a 3.9 billion footstep, all right, which forms 78.19% of the sample size, where it is an environment where UA compatibility exists as far as the sign up feature is concerned. The remaining 221 million, the websites that were rejected, had 221 million of traffic. All right. So this is just to put things into your head, like, for the lack of better term, where is the greener pasture over here? Where is the comfort zone over here? All right. And what is the gap or the catching up that we need to do at this particular point of time? Now, when you look at contact forms, you see that the percentage is 37.82% of accepted. Why? Because most of the traffic belongs to the not applicable category, which means that the website did not have a contact us form at all. So the not applicable percentage in this particular graph is more as compared to the acceptance rate. But again, the acceptance of contact form, 1.28 billion people, can basically approximately, if they are new GTLD users, can basically go ahead and use this. And 56.8 million users still would struggle because of errors of acceptance during that particular, when you look at, the contact form. Now, the second type of result that we were talking about was the new long, all right? New long is written, is if we test it for .online domain name, and this is the email address we tested. And we see a slight dip in the acceptance of new long as compared to new short, all right? Now, although, and numbers are really funny when you basically go ahead and calculate. The email receive rate is somewhat similar to what we saw in the new short type of domain names, and the contact form, on the other hand, if you're looking at new long, has kind of increased over here as compared to the new short. So, like I say, statistics are funny when you look at it, because logically speaking, like if your contact form is accepting 81% over here for the new long, why is it not accepting for new short? It's something that you have to further deep dive and see, what websites are we looking at. Now, the same figure, 3.78 billion people, 75% of the sample said greener pastures for them as far as contact us forms, as far as, the sign up forms for the new longs are concerned. And visitor impact, again, 1.24 billion and 94 million rejection based on the sample set that we've seen. This is the interesting part. This is the real impact. This is the real bridge that we want to cover. This is the test case number 3 for IDNs, the IDN domain, datamail.bharat that we saw. We see a huge rejection rate in terms of the signups for signups and contact forms for the third type of TLD, the IDN TLD. And this is where the UA compatibility really kicks in, because the first two were still English. All right. The first two were still English. This is still, local languages that we're talking about and aiming to get at. And this is the biggest gap that we see. And this gap will keep on increasing only if we go ahead and further test the remaining test cases that USG has already tested. So you can see that, the rejection rates are quite high over here. And basically, the email transmission also drops significantly over here, where, once accepted, did the emails come to my system or not? That also drops drastically over here. Again, the rejection rate, billion dollar, the rejection rate populace is more as compared to the acceptance populace over here. All right. And not surprising based on the tests that we've seen so far. And the contact form acceptance rate, again, is like, 882 million are the rejections and 414 millions are, from the acceptance as far as when you tested the IDN version on a contact form. This is going to basically, this particular graph is just going to put things into perspective right now. Once you have removed the nulls and the not applicables, and you're purely looking at acceptance versus rejection, this is our observation that the new short cases, your small TLDs, the sign-up acceptance rate was 89.4% and contact acceptance rate was 93.8%. And when you compare it to the study done by the USG working groups, the technical and the measurement working group, their gap analysis showed that 98.3% acceptance rate was there. Fair enough. There are no real conclusions that you can draw. It totally depends on the kind of sample set that people have taken up. All right. But the good part is that both these varied test cases taken in different testing environments by different teams at least gives you an idea that there is a 90% at least acceptance rate under both studies conducted at different times and different websites and different samples. So that's the key takeaway over here. The similarly new long, if you go ahead and see that, it's at 84% and we see around 88%. So there is a lot of overlap in our study, which basically validates the study that both these teams have taken independently for the same goal. So our confidence in the data that we get in the both studies is kind of matching over there. And again, the gap that we were talking about, the cause of concern, the main concern is the ID and domain name. The sign-up acceptance, according to us, drops drastically to 23% and 33% respectively. And in UASG's observation, it again drops by 50%, almost 50% to 47.9%. Now, this particular chart just shows you, a breakup as far as different categories are concerned and what the acceptance rates varies up and down. So it's just to understand. I'm not going to go deep into this, but it's something to look at. Like, hey, if you are a consumer of social networks, all right, or social media, do you think that the acceptance rate is good enough over here for new short, new long, and so on and so forth? Or if you are into jobs and careers, or you're into food and drinks, like your Zomato and all, hey, this is going to be there or not. But it's just an indicator of what we've seen. And I'm keeping the numbers as they have been seen. There is no sugarcoating over here. Numbers don't lie, but numbers sometimes don't say the truest of pictures either. But it's a good indicator where we can focus which industry we could target, which category we could target, and basically put in our ambassador efforts into those categories and see if they can come up with their UA readiness and pitch UA readiness to them. Now, what do we do after we have tested? All right, we know what sites have failed. We know what sites have, succeeded. Then what do we do after that? All right, what do we get out of it? So UASG has got an option on their website where if you have figured out that any of your new TLD or your email ID is not working, is throwing validation errors in the sign up or the contact or any of the features that you were using, you can basically go ahead and report it to UASG support team. All right. We then take it up and basically UASG team, and this is backed by the ICANN support team. They would try to get in touch with the owners of those portals and pitch them that, hey, these are the gaps that we've seen. You need to do this, and they point them to whatever resources they require from UASG's perspective, whatever we've published, and help them become compliant. All right, or at least point them into a direction of compliance. All right. So these are a few examples that I have over here of domains that we reported because they had failed certain test cases, either from sign up or the contact us form. Some of the websites and brands you might know: Starbucks, everybody knows that; Victoria's Secret, Forever 21, Foot Locker. These are all well-known brands out there, and they are not UA compatible. All right. So okay, I have a question over here. I will just answer that. There is a request to go back to the previous slide, and we shall do that. Just give me a second. Yeah. So there's a question from Samiran that, can you go back and we can just look at this particular slide and simple explanation over here. So, gentlemen, what we did, like the samples that we had taken out, the 727 domain names that we took out, we saw, and we took it from these categories. All right, the top traffic generating websites we took out from these categories, And then we broke them down into their acceptance, sign up and contact form acceptance rates. And the slide over here where we saw a consolidated acceptance rate of all 727 websites, this is the breakup, category wise, what we have seen. So where we see in our examples that we've taken, like under food and drinks, if there was a contact form on the food and drink website, 100% of them were accepting it. And the sign up was just 81.82%. So it's an interesting study. That's all that I can say. All right, but it kind of helps us focus which industry that we could reach out or we could target based on their acceptance. It's just a direction marker, if we can say. But this slide will definitely be shared with universal acceptance group also, and further studies can be taken up from there on. Moving on, while I was on this slide, we're talking about different websites that we were reported to the support team at ICANN. Just like to actually share one quick case study over here. All right, once you basically go ahead and report cases, all right, you report multiple cases over here to websites. The general answer that we get from website owners, if we get the answer, is that, okay, thank you for reporting, we've acknowledged it, we will see what we can do. All right, which is, I wouldn't say like the ideal win situation for us who are passionate about universal acceptance, but at least it's in their records. They have been made aware that they are not compliant or they are not compatible. Forget compliant because it's not a law, but compatibility. Now, a pointer that I would want to make is that there's a difference between normally just reporting and basically reporting with the idea that, hey, you are potentially losing out on business, just to give them the incentive to get things going so that their potential, they don't lose out on potential customers. Now, a case study that I wanted to share with you guys is that the general answer that we usually get is that, hey, we acknowledge, we will fix it, and that's pretty much it. Most of the times we don't even get an acknowledgement, don't even get an answer, and the ICANN support team has got no option but to close the ticket. All right, they can't keep the ticket open. And whenever they get a reply from the portals, they immediately get in touch with the person who's reported the issue to them about the updates and the progress. So that's a continuous effort, but the responses are not that great. And resolution, well, it's going to be a miracle if there's a resolution, and a quick resolution would be a miracle. But I would like to share that we did actually see one such instance where there was a quick solution. There was a very fast solution provided for a universal acceptance issue, and I'm purely talking about a form where we used a new GTLD email address, filled it out, it was throwing an error on a portal that is really vastly used, and that is SurveyMonkey. All right, SurveyMonkey was not compatible with accepting new GTLD email addresses. We reported it to them, and we got a resolution within 3 days. They were constantly at us, responding to us saying that, hey, we've taken cognizance of the matter, our development team is working. They worked really well and doing that. Now, having said that, and I will give a disclaimer over here, I cannot verify whether they are 100% UA compatible or not, because what 100% UA compatibility means is that the email systems are working, your databases are working, you are accepting all kind of IDNs and everything. This is just new GTLD and a solution perspective. But there is someone out there is some development team out there working for some company who works fast, and we would want to call that out. Like, hey, you know what? It was a great moment to see, and someone taking universal acceptance issues seriously and trying to fix it. SoundCloud, on the other hand, we saw they some of them basically do not trust new GTLDs at point of time, and they have like universal blockade across TLDs. Soundcloud kind of did that with one such TLD, and we reached out to them. We reached out through multiple contacts and sources, and we told them that you can't do this. You can't block an entire TLD. But yeah, at the end of the day, they basically they had to basically revert, and they unblocked it. But it shows that their system was also accepting it, but it wasn't a universal acceptance issue. It was more about a policy issue at their end where they had blocked certain systems. Udemy also, one of the forms were not working. We reported, it started working. These are a few success stories that I might say, or semi-success stories as far as issue reporting is concerned. But like I showed in my previous slide, the issue is huge. All right, there is a gap of millions. And when it comes to the IDN TLDs, it's in billions. All right, so there's a lot of work to be done clearly over there. Now, the next steps for us was to report whatever gaps and instances that we figured out. We figured out 217 failed cases on 3 types of email addresses, 127 unique domain names that were not, or domain names, when I say domain names, the websites that were not UA compatible. And we have actually reached out and reported these cases to ICANN. I know this is holiday season. They will, come up, look up, and then we can follow up, and we can, work with the support team over there and run it through. Finally, this report is going to be shared with UASG members also, and the working group and the measurement group, and we can just exchange notes over there. This is a new type of testing that we took up, and this is experimental. It's social media testing. And the 2 main popular platforms that we have are Facebook and LinkedIn, right? And we really went deep in this one to test out. So we're just going to cover as to how this basically worked out. But before I get into social media testing, I would want to pause for like 2 minutes. And if there are any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. Sushanta, do you see any questions from the audience over here?
No, not specific to this as yet, Aman.
Okay.
And the chat, we have Samiran's one, which we have already addressed.
So, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Aman, for the wonderful results and all the study. I have a particular question. I don't know. This is the right time that you may answer the question, but you may take it later on. But still, I just want to know, is there any data set for .in or .bharat, domains, if somehow we can sort out that how they are actually working, or how, if they are UA ready or not. So we can take it up specifically at National Internet Exchange of India and the Ministry of IT. I mean, that is my question or comment.
Okay. So I did not do any particular test specifically on .in or .bharat at the moment. But what we can do is we can create a shortlist of domain names that are on .bharat, and based on their traffic, we can figure out what are the top let's say or .in domain names. For as a matter of fact, we can get the top traffic generating, and we can do it category wise, and we can create a sample set for further testing, or a similar kind of test that if you want to do specifically for .bharat and .in. But we can definitely work that out, Harish, and you can get in touch with me over there. And if we have access to certain portals and data, we can definitely share that with you.
Oh, great. Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, moving on, and I'm really actually excited about this because, social media testing. Before I go into what social media testing is about, just wanted to put certain things in context. Is that I think about 6 months ago we started looking at our email groups, and I saw this very nice draft on social media. Uh, on social media related testing, and basically they were covering about features and all, and it was really nice to see, because I was already thinking about the so your thoughts were on paper basically. So it was really exciting over there, and I took some cue from there and said that, all right, why not we give it a shot, all right, internally, and see if there are gaps. Now, one of the main reasons why we took up and why Radix took this particular test up is because Radix wants the same experience for a new GTLD consumer that it would have for any other legacy domain name. And now when I say experience, I mean, if you're commenting or you're posting on a social media using a new GTLD, is it being accepted or being blocked? If it is accepted, is it automatically hyperlinking or not? If it is hyperlinking, is it showing a preview like usually, websites show previews or not? So it was an interesting case study where we basically went into it. And well, some of the results are really fascinating. And we basically figured out gaps also where we could potentially report to Facebook saying that, hey, you know what, this is not working. But deeper studies show as to theoretically, and you assume why Facebook would be doing certain things that they're doing. All right. Cool. So the scope of testing, which of the platforms did we test? All right. We tested Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and Twitter. All right. And what versions did we test? We tested web, Android, and iOS, all three platforms. All right. And for the purpose of this particular presentation, I have just taken example of Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for now. WhatsApp and Twitter is something which is still under work in progress, but Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, we've kind of completed. Which websites or email addresses did we test? Again, we go back to the basics. We tested the new short, the new long, and that same IDN TLD domain name. We also tested with www and without www. It has an implication. We kind of figured that piece out. And why? Basically, there are systems that are out there that recognizes the existence of a URL, all right, based on the presence of www as the subdomain. And some of the systems don't recognize that if the www is not given, all right? Why is it important for recognition? Because the moment they recognize, they can then hyperlink. If they hyperlink, they can go ahead and show a preview, which will give the complete experience that a end user would want. Now, what did we test for? We tested email acceptance number 1, all right, and linkification of that email address. Like if you put an email address in any of the features on a social media platform, does it accept it, and does it show it as like a clickable link where you click and you can send out and shoot out emails, or your email your default email client gets popped up for shooting out? It's a feature that a lot of solutions are. Website acceptance and linkification, like if there is a feature where bios and profiles where you put your website link, is that particular link being accepted? If the link is accepted, does it hyperlink automatically? Yes or no? And if it is, then there is a preview or not. We did it at benchmarking, all right? How do we know whether, so we tested the features out, but how do we know whether it was supposed to show or it wasn't supposed to show? So we benchmarked as to how those features worked when a .com domain name was used in the similar case. And then against that .com domain name and the results that we saw what are the gaps if we use other variations of TLDs and domain names and email addresses. And then we recorded those observations. Now, These are the features that we tested for Facebook. All right. For email acceptance and hyperlink, we looked at, the bio details, the work area, posts, comments, notes, finding people, messages, contact section, creating and website and acceptance. We went ahead and we saw, what are your contacts? How do you create ads? There are pages that you create. So there are a plethora of features that we investigated that took these inputs and we noted them down. All right. Um, and we basically tested all of these on all of the platforms, website, iOS, and Android, against a .com and those 3 test cases. And then we came to this conclusion. We've kept, the results and the observations in the raw format on these particular URLs. These are the gaps that we found out. All right. Now, email acceptance. For case 3, which is IDN, the following features did not accept the email address: page about, page info, an add button to your page feature. These are the features that basically did not accept, the third page IDN. And I've also mentioned whether it, so for example, the platforms also behave differently. If you notice that the page about feature, the more info section, it works in Android and iOS, but on the web version, it did not work. All right. So there is a gap between the 3 systems also that, if we pointed out to Facebook, they need to work on. And let's say if they become compatible in one, not necessarily means that they become compatible in the other versions of their application. The page info section does not work on Android. Email hyperlinking. Did not hyperlink the email address, the page info contact section, and no hyperlink issue. There was no hyperlinking issue noticed on iOS and Android. All right. So clearly there is someone working on iOS and Android as far as some of these nuances are concerned, and the website version is kind of a little neglected over there. Website acceptance. When we talk about website acceptance with and without www, the following features did not work for case 3, which is this datamail.bharat, all right, domain name. These were the features that you see over here that did not accept the domain name, the unique domain name, or the IDN TLD based domain name. All right. Then the hyperlinking of the websites. All right. For case 1, 2, and 3, these are the types of domain names that we tested. Without www, the following did not hyperlink. So here's what I mean. All right. In short, these features, right? The post, the comment, the messenger messages that you see, and when you create a post on a page. All right. These features basically did not create an automatic hyperlink. All right. And there is somewhat a reason that worked. I mean, like basically with www it was working, without www it wasn't working. Now I don't know if I can do a demo right now over here, but you guys can actually try it out whenever you go to your Facebook. All right. And you basically try to create what is on your mind. You remember the home page, what is on your mind, type what is on your mind. All right. And create, make sure that the post is only for your viewing. Do not post it in the general wall or something like that. Keep the privacy settings to yourself. And then you can just test it out. Just try to write one sentence like, hey, I am testing this domain. And then you put up, for example, get.space or mobility.fun or advanced.online, and see how the hyperlinks form when you post a com against a new TLD. Now, after doing multiple variations of these, I came to this conclusion that the moment you add www before the domain name, Facebook systems basically go ahead and accept and hyperlink it because the www is an indication for them to start the hyperlinking protocol. All right, this is something that I noticed. All right, but without the www, it recognizes a handful of TLDs as domain names altogether. All right, com being one of them, net being one of them, org being one of them. But now, if you go by theory that all legacy TLDs are being accepted on Facebook and new GTLDs or IDNs are not, then we would be wrong over here. Why? I'll tell you. If you try .info on the post and the comment section also, all right, you try to like, hey, I am testing ican.info, all right. So the moment you just type ican.info, hyperlink will not be found, all right. It won't be found. Or ican.us that you type, for example, it won't be found, all right, unless and until you type www. Now, the reason and the only conclusion that I can think of that this might be happening, I don't have an official comment from Facebook on this, is that the generic nature of the new GTLDs, all right? These are so generic in nature that you and me would use it in a post very casually, like guru or info is not a new GTLD, it's a legacy TLD, but the genericness of the nature, how it sounds, like, you know, for example, dot global, all right? Now, these are normal words that people would actually use on your Facebook and comment section, message section and all. But imagine if they have a grammatical error where they don't leave a space after the full stop. Do you believe that the Facebook system will automatically go ahead and create hyperlinks? I believe it's a smart thing that Facebook has done to create that barrier to avoid coughing up hyperlinks left, right, and center, which might not even resolve to a domain name, all right, because of somebody having a grammatical error. Now, that's just in theory. But if you go to any of the official channels of Facebook and ask them that, hey, you know what, can we go ahead and can you go ahead and basically, you know, I'm losing my chain of thought over here. All right, yeah. So I was talking about the fact that, you know, how hyperlinking is working over here. And it's an interesting thing. I mean, you guys can test it out yourself and you will come to know the generic nature, all right, of this thing. Also, basically, you know, yeah, I was talking about the official channels of Facebook. They actually recommend that if you want to post a hyperlink, either you do it with an HTTP or HTTPS, or at least put a www, and basically your hyperlinks on your post, and you know, everything will be found. This note basically explains the same thing that I was talking about. All right. With www, all cases hyperlinked as it would work for a .com, with the exception of the following. For the Idn domain name, website and social link, post, comments, and create a post. It did not create a hyperlink automatically over here for the Idn domain name. And the same observations were noted in iOS and Android also. Website preview, when we tested, all right? So the comments in the message section did not create a website preview automatically. But for posts and creating posts on preview was not generated even for a .com domain name without a www. So it's once you start benchmarking it against, you see that, you know, a .com might work. It's not necessary. All right. So these are a few observations that came out after testing, you know, Facebook. Then to our favorite, Instagram. I know a lot of the, you know, younger crowd has just moved out of Facebook and, you know, are now on Instagram. And I have a very good story about Instagram also that I will share, which is like a case study, you know, after I finish, you know, the features that we tested. We checked out, you know, bios, profiles, comments, message, DM, post, story quiz section, the bio profile for the creator account, and a feature called swipe up. All right. you must have basically on your Instagram, when you go through stories of influencers or someone, they have like, hey, to visit this site or to visit this particular portal where I'm selling A, B, C, X, Y, Z, swipe up to go to the link. It's a feature where you swipe up and then you get redirected to their website. Now, results and gaps, again, we noticed the results were there. We found no gaps, absolutely no gaps between how a .com would behave and how any of our 3 test cases would behave. This is the most interesting thing that came out, which means that I could conclude that the Instagram development uh, uh, is going much faster as compared to what Facebook, because I did not see any gaps over here, and I still have the results over here for people to see, people to share, but that's purely given the fact that there could be human errors, but at least after double checking, we figured out that, hey, you know what, however a .com's working, the other 3 test cases were working absolutely the same. Now, the test case that we were talking about, all right, now before the beginning of this year, all right, and now I'm going to be talking about a little bit about what one particular feature can actually create an impact as far as universal acceptance and the promotion of universal acceptance is concerned. All right. Now, one of the strategies where we work with we work in promoting new TLDs is that we reach out to influencers on social media, and based on their brand, we give them an alternate on a new GTLD. All right. This is a new GTLD alternate. Why don't you go ahead and use this? All right. And obviously, and we try to get them on board with the program. So there was one particular influencer, a Spanish influencer, teaching English. All right. And we kind of convinced them, hey, why don't you use a .online domain name? All right. Why don't you use this instead of your existing legacy TLD domain? Which she signed up, and basically, and then obviously, when you work with influencers, you're talking about these many posts are you're going to create, and um, uh, and these are the followers and the users who will have the eyeballs on the post that you have done, and so on and so forth. Now, this particular influencer had like X 100,000 followers. All right. Now, when we gave them an alternate version for their domain name, that swipe up feature that we were talking about earlier, right? That was not working. And that was such an important feature, because imagine this, an influencer who has got like hundreds and thousands of followers, if not millions, all right, who's just come on board, who's just basically put up a new GTLD domain name or a website on a new GTLD. But that swipe up feature is not working because that feature does not recognize a new GTLD or an NTLD. That means that feature itself is not UA compatible. The potential loss over there as far as promotion of a new GTLD. What is promotion? That means how many eyeballs are on new GTLDs. Eyeballs on new GTLD means that people now have that in their conscious that this is an alternative, and tomorrow if they want to go online, they will come up with these alternatives and, hey, you know what, this is a cool sounding domain name. These are the impressions, possible impression misouts. So hundreds and thousands of potential users were not able to have access or have eyeballs based on those features, based on that swipe up feature. They reported to us, they back channeled with us, we reported it to UASG. The UASG team basically got in touch with Instagram. Instagram said that, hey, you know what, we get it, it's an issue, we will try to fix it based on the supply and the demand. But another way, and this is one good thing about the UASG support team also. If let's say the developer community of that or the developer team of that particular platform says that, hey, you know what, get in touch with, just ask the user to get in touch with us. They will actually let us know, and they will give us the contact information where we can, further go ahead and talk. So Instagram said that ask the end user to get in touch with us. The end user, we gave them an entire write-up on how this feature could potentially impact, their platform and the users of that platform. That influencer went ahead and spoke to, submitted that to Instagram. And after that, we never heard from Instagram. This was the only problem. We never heard from Instagram, and we never knew whether this feature is fixed or not. Surprise, surprise, one day, I'm looking at some political satire, and there's somebody who's got a satire, and he's put up a domain name on .guru. Like, hey, ho, that's a new GTLD. That's a nice way to look at it. It's a .guru. Then I remember that, oh, it's a new long also. Okay. And he's put it on swipe up. And I'm like, okay, whether this is working or not. The swiped up, it went into redirection. Immediately we triggered. We got in touch with the influencers. Hey, is this feature working right now? Please test it out. They went ahead and tested out, and it started working. Now, long story short, why this one feature was important is because Instagram is a hub where millions and millions of eyeballs are going to be on the new TLDs or Idn domain names if any influencer would want to go ahead and log. And that's the best place to promote new GTLDs and the traffic around. So if these features get fixed, like one such feature that is attracting such eyeballs, we need to be on the lookout of figuring out how many such features are there outside on social media platforms, which is being extensively used, and target those features to ensure that they become UA compatible. Work doubly hard with those teams to promote universal acceptance, because this is the trickle down effect. And the moment we start talking about user impact and the granular user impact and the potential effect of this, that's when people start taking you seriously. Now, we also tested LinkedIn. This is the last part, and after that, we'll go into question answers. I know I'm running out of time, but this is the last part. We tested these features, and we basically recorded some gaps around this. That the iOS feature, we saw that the comments and the messages did not create hyperlinks for new short and new long TLDs. Surprisingly, it worked for the ID and domain name, which is something that is, again, we've up till now in all our tests, we've seen that the regular domain names work and the IDNs don't work. But this is the first time, and this is the reason why I'm putting it over here, but that this particular feature worked for the IDN domain name and not for the other domain names. We got to figure that out. Like, there could be I'm saying we could also be wrong. I don't know. Something wrong with my machine or something. But this was an observation. We saw it twice. So I've just noted it down. And, and otherwise, we saw no gaps between Android and website versions when you compare it with a .com domain or an email address. I said that I'm going to talk about something about email address and linkification. Just one quick pointer over here is that we've had a few discussions with ICANN support also. We noticed we basically list down a bunch of new GTLD and ASCII, ID and domain names, and we send it out to multiple free email accounts like Gmail, Outlook, Yandex, Hotmail, AOL, and we basically noticed that we notice certain gaps in terms of linkification. Like when you read an email, when you see a domain name, does it automatically create a hyperlink or not? And the only reason why we tested this out is because of user experience. All right. Why are certain TLDs being linked and why are certain TLDs not being linked? One observation that we noticed in Gmail was that some of the legacy TLDs and a bunch of new GTLDs were being considered for automatic hyperlinking when you read it in the body of the email. The others were not. All right. I've reported that to a contact in Google, and he said that he'll go ahead and do that. But apparently it could be a very hard-coded piece of information rather than referring to a library of GTLDs, or at least on the INR resource. So I've already exchanged with them, and they would probably work it out based on demand and supply. The other thing, AOL, we saw AOL accepted and hyperlinked all the TLDs. Yandex did not hyperlink any unless you type www. So each and every GUI handles this issue separately, right from composition to actually receipt of an email. So if you compose and put hyperlinks, then the recipient will also hyperlink it. And sometimes there are smart systems when you're composing an email address, composing an email, the hyperlink, the URLs will be automatically hyperlinked. So it's a study that we need to, based on how the GUI is working on the linkification angle, and it will require more study. With that in mind, I come to the conclusion of my presentation on, the testing scenarios. Thank you guys, and we're ready to take questions.
We had one question, but you have responded to that, Aman, which is related to how does this IDN gets resolved from this U level to A level, but no specific questions read on the chat box for your sections.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a similar question which Harish asked, basically whether you have any segregations on this government websites, not only .in but others vis-a-vis other business areas that you have pointed out. So specifically see whether this government authority is going ahead with the space of the UA compliance or not. That's what.
So we basically did not test out any of the government portals right now, but I do understand Harish and Sushanta's concern over here, and again, going back to the conversations we've had with Dr. Data in past sessions, and even Samiran, it's like if the government portals go ahead and start becoming UA compatible and start accepting the languages, they would be the flag bearers basically, and they would send the benchmark of that services on your new domain names and new TLDs. The government is taking a stance on providing you with those services on that front. So I do get that, but I haven't specifically tested any out, all right, at my end. But we can come up with a plan on testing, on running a thorough test over there, right from starting which are the most traffic generating government portals or .in domain names, and we basically consolidate that and we start the same test cases, and I can help with the test case methodology over there and see what benefits we can derive and report it to the government, create a report and send it to the government. We could probably do that too. And yeah, coming back to the question, when you can you please no, wait, there was a question about Idn Domain Resolution. So it's like when you register an Idn domain name, it gets registered in the Unicode format, which is your xn hyphen and so on and so forth. That looks like a regular domain name, but it looks like a very gibberish domain name. All right, they'll follow the same protocol at the moment right now to get that done. But that is just from my understanding. I could be wrong over here, but Sushanta, you can button over there.
Yeah,
you can take that question up.
Right. No, I just responded to that. Yeah, basically the search was based on this XM dash version, and it is after it is converting to this, A level.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Aman. It was really interesting, and this Twitter case when you talked to me was, this Instagram case, which is really interesting, and we really need to look up some of this feature-based thing to see how we can make UA and compatible to that, and that you get more visibility, more hits on the ground, and make some difference.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, so this is just the first round of testing as far as we are concerned. Our aim over here is to continue this piece And we're also investing significantly into resources internally, where these testing pieces are continuously churned out and reported at least to the UASG support team. And together we can come up with an evangelization plan on those core areas, which are which have billions of people coming in, and a non-compatibility over there we have over there. So we need to start with our reach out process. In fact, a targeted reach out, or probably, I know it's tough during COVID to have a one-on-one meeting with product managers and so on and so forth. But if, let's say, imagine a post-COVID era, I can actually imagine a bunch of ambassadors who are in India, who are in United States, heading to the head offices of those people, talking to the project managers, giving them reports on the traffic and the impact of those features not working, and a very surgical approach, convincing them to become UA compatible.
Right. And another area probably we can just take it another day is some of those features like anti-spam thing, which are meant to be rejected. Are they really rejecting the rightful, this right email IDs? That's another level of discussion that we probably need to do, because that is another area which is really creating big impacts, like how this anti-spam software or the tools are working on the ground.
Absolutely. That's I think in our universal acceptance group, we have really good and brilliant minds who have worked with anti-spam providers and anti-spam filters, and the impact of new GTLDs on anti-spam filters, and impact on deliverability, and how if let's say Idn domain names and email addresses come into picture, are the anti-spam filters up to it to basically ensure what's really happening?
Correct.
Because agreed, this could potentially become an issue where abuse gets out of hand, and spear phishing could also see a rise where language related spear phishing and targeting can happen to an audience who does not speak English.
Correct.
And who might not even be aware of what phishing is and all. So yes, there are gaps on that side of the area also, which requires a deeper discussion, let's say.
Correct. Yeah, thank you, Aman, for your time and sincere effort to give all those insights. Just like to inform that Anand is also working on the background to see that we have this YouTube live on this, and there are also users, other viewers on that channel as well. I know I'm stealing time from Harish Chaudhary, who is our next speaker. He is attached as a technical consultant with CDAC and working with the ministry. And Harish, your time now, you just take it forward. Harish will be focusing on some of these areas that we see as a challenge and how we can address some of those, and orient ourselves to address those open issues. Over to you, Harish. You want me to share this presentation, or you can share it from your side?
I think you could share the presentation.
Okay. This is the one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you. And it's a wonderful study by Redix, and thanks Aman for sharing it. And now we have the test results, and then we could have some steps, and during my presentation I would be explaining some basic steps which would be really helpful to make a website or an application UA ready. So this would be a bit technical, but that is the intention, so that people could understand what are the technical things behind universal acceptance. So basically, in the end of my presentation, I would also be sharing some more test results, which are more email oriented, and it would be on the email system components, and those results are really helpful to understand that how email system is different email system are working, and how uh, they are how are they, UA compliant. So uh, I would be moving to my next slide. So this is the key fundamental aspect of uh, universal acceptance, and you can see that these aspects are, Unicode, IDNs, internationalized domain names. So basically, what we are doing in the Unicode, that we are encoding glyphs into the code points. So initially, Shushanto already, mentioned what is normalization and why it is useful. So I would be, skipping this slide. But the most important part of this slide is the UTF-8, encoding. And this is the gold standard for, carrying Unicode code points into the web and other protocols. So that is very useful. And we have to understand that while implementing EAI, the UTF-8 is the one of the most important encoding. Moving to the next slide. So basically, domain name. So when we come to the domain name, so domain name is simply a ordered set of labels like A dot B dot C dot D, and you can see in the diagram that if I'll write HTTP mail.google.com, so .com is the top level domain, and Google is the on the second level, mail is the subdomain, and it is in the third level. So that is how a URL is formed. And in the same way, we have the TLDs, SLDs. SLDs are the second level domains. So basically, we have the domain name system, which is actually converting domain into the IP address, and vice versa. And this is very important for and very important service for querying domain name records. So domain name may have the multiple DNS records, which could be, we could have IPv4 addresses, IPv6 addresses, as well as we have the host name and email servers responsible for that domain. So you all know MX records, which are related to the email servers. Apart from that, we have a large number of records related to the domain name system, and most important one, resource records. So these are the basic building blocks of a domain name system, and really important to understand while implementing and deploying EAI. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we come to the internationalized domain names. So when we talk about the internationalized domain names, that means the domain names in local languages in a very simple format. And in the technical terms, local languages means non-ASCII, and they are the Unicode, labels. So we have to understand that all the labels of a domain name may be internationalized. I mean, they may not be internationalized. For example, you can see a domain name called example.ca, where this A is not, that ASCII A. It is a Unicode character because it has a cap above it. You can see that. And then this, IDN version of a domain is, converted into the its Punicode version, which is known as A label. You can see that while conversion example is converted into this text which is starting with xn, and this xn prefix indicates the there is a IDN domain. So how this happens, I am just explaining step by step, that if somebody is entering http.example.ca or www.nixie.bharat, then the first step is to normalize the entry, and then this entry is converted into the ASCII compatible representation, which is known as Punicode and defined by the RFC 3492. This RFC is the standard created by Internet Engineering Task Force, and this was the question while Aman was presenting, that how Idn domain go for the DNS resolution. So this is the step, and in the you can see the encoding format in the red color, that it is starting with xn dash dash. So this is converted into the Punicode, and then finally browser calls the DNS to get the IP address of the Punicode, and then finally it connects to the HTTP server to receive to server at the received IP address. So this is the 5-step process for the IDN domain name resolution. Yes. So basically, internationalized domain name, they are defined by the IDNA. IDNA is the internationalized domain name for application, and there are two versions of IDNA, IDNA 2003 and IDNA 2008. So important part is that while implementing EAI, one has to consult IDNA 2008, which is currently in use. And basically, this is very important for the system administrators as well as for the developers during the implementation. We also have to understand that one has to take care U label as well as A label correctly during the implementation. For example, U label is the Unicode native representation of IDN label, which means in a simple terms, nixie.bharat, a domain, an IDN domain is the U label, and its Punicode, which is starting with X and dash dash, is the A label. So we have to handle them carefully during the implementation and the while coding. So we know that there are the 5 fundamental things to the universal acceptance, but when we talk about in the technical term, then universal acceptance is about how to appropriately support internationalized identifiers as well as new and long TLDs. So what are these two internationalized identifiers? IDNs and EAI. So IDNs and EAI are very important and during the implementation of EAI, and IDN is we have covered in detail in the earlier presentations. Now I will be covering EAI. So what is EAI? So it's very simple: email address internationalization and UTF-8 in email addresses. So Unicode transformation format 8 is the important encoding I am repeating again. And some of the examples of EAI, you can see that there are, email IDs in Mandarin language. We also have in Arabic. We have, you can see some characters which are looking similar to English characters, but they are not, are also part of EAI. You can see Devanagari script as Hindi, harish@nixie.bharat. It is also the example of EAI. So these are some examples, but most important part, what is not EAI, one has to understand. So when we writing subject lines, address, comments, message bodies, and any character set other than UTF-8, these are not the part of EAI. So we have to, put the attention on these important points, that what is not EAI. Next, please. Now I will be covering mail system components, which are very important part of EAI, and one has to understand it. So there could be several mail softwares, and these have many components. And there could be a mail package, in which there are several components. Some components may be AI compliant, but other components are not. So we have to be carefully analyze that which systems are compliant and which components of the system are compliant. So it is important point to understand. So these are the basic building block of a mail system, and I am explaining them and why these are important. So when we say mail user agent, which is MUA, so this is the software by the user who sends and receive mail. So for example, Gmail or XGen running in the browser, Outlook, Thunderbird, these all the examples of the MUA. We all are using and interacting every day with MUA. Now MTA, this is very important part and of very important part of an email system. A server application that receives mail from MSA is the mail submission agent, or from another MTA, that is mail transfer agent. So, and it will find the MX record from the recipient domain's DNS zone in order to know how to transfer the mail. So actually the role of MTA is really important. As you can see its functionality, it then transfers the mail using the simple mail transfer protocol to another MTA. So so MTA is the one which is actually transferring and receiving the mail using the different components of a email system. Examples are Postfix, Exim, Sendmail, and Qmail. These are the open source softwares, and so that's why I put them as the example. Now the important, again, one of the important part is MSA, a server program that receives mail from MUA, checks for any errors, and then transfer it with using the SMTP protocol to MTA hosted on the same server. So you have to understand this is on the same server. Typically this function is bundled with an MTA. So I'm explaining these components separately, but some software bundling MTA MSA together, and they are bundling different components together according to their product and how they have implemented their email system. Finally the MDA, which is mail delivery agent, and this software usually present on servers which receives the email from an MTA and is the final final destination. I think okay. So this is the final destination for the email. So MDA is the final destination for the email. It typically stores the email in a file or a database and waits for the mail user agent of the destination user to fetch the email. So typically this function is bundled with the mail transfer agent. In a simple terms, the Dovecot is the example, and which is mainly a POP and IMAP server allowing an MUA to retrieve mail, but also include an MDA which takes mail from an MTA. So these are, I'm just reading these lines because these are very important, that how things are, moving and how your mail is going from one user to another user, and delivers it to the server's mailbox. So mail delivery agent is again a very important, component of a mail system. And in my next slides, I will be, again explaining them in a more simple way. So if there was some confusion in earlier slide, you can see this diagram, and now you will get an idea that what is the functionality of MUA, MSA, MDA, and these are and other protocols. So you can simply see that if we'll use the Postfix, so Postfix typically used as an MTA, MDA, and MSA. So when we send the mail, we can see that there is a client and there is a server. So you can see that I'm using, if the user or a sender using a Gmail running in the browser, he will using the simple mail transfer protocol submit the mail to the mail submission agent, then mail submission agent using the simple mail transfer protocol sending this mail to the mail transfer agent. So again, mail transfer agent using the simple mail transfer protocol submitting this email to the MTA of the receiver email server. Using the key part here is the simple mail transfer protocol, which is actually sending the mail from one end to another. Then this MTA finally submitting the mail to the mail MDA of the receiving mail server, which is stored in the mailbox of the receiving mail server and then accessed by the POP or IMAP as per your requirement. And on the other hand, receiver will see the email, let's say the Outlook mail user agent. So I hope this flow would help you to understand what is the actual, email system and how different components are running together based upon, protocol, so that the sender can send the email and receiver can receive the email. And it is simple email, and this email is based upon ASCII characters, because here we are using SMTP only. Now we have to see that what additional things we have to add on this flow, so that your system would be UA compliant and can accept the EAI emails or emails in the local languages. So how to find the destination server? This is also very important. So when sending email to user@theexample.com, the method to find the destination email server is by querying the DNS for the MX record. So these are some of the examples that how to query them. And you can see there are numbers written 10, 10, and 20. So this is for providing the priority. The sender mail server try to connect to either server 1 or 2 because they have the same priority, and if none respond, it would try to server 3 since it has the lower priority, which means the higher the number means lower the priority. So by this way you can set the priority of the server to which one can contact. Next slide, please. So now what would be the email syntax of an email address internationalization? Very simple, harish@nixie.bharat. So domain is nixie.bharat and Harish is on the left side. So domain name can be internationalized as IDN. Okay, so it could be U label, nixie.bharat, or A label, the puny code of nixie.bharat. The left side, which is also known as local part or mailbox name. In this example, the mailbox name is Harish with Unicode UTF-8 is EAI. So this second line is very important. It should be Unicode with the encoding UTF-8. I'm repeating once again, that left side, which is known as local part or the mailbox name, should be Unicode with the Unicode encoding UTF-8. Then it would be considered as EAI. Okay. Not all email servers supports EAI. So a negotiation protocol is used to only send EAI when the target server supports it. So in earlier example, I have shown you that there is simple mail transfer protocol, and we have also seen that in the test results of Aman, that there is not acceptance of email IDs. There are so many issues we have seen that, and I'm particularly talking about email addresses only. So basically, why this is happening? Because all the email servers in the path are not supporting EAI. So that this is the real problem. And why? Because they are not compliant with the EAI protocols. So that is why this is we have the issues of UA readiness. So how to check that if one server is supporting EAI or not? So we have a negotiation protocol, and which is used to send only EAI when the target server supports it, and if there is no support, it will show you unable to deliver the message back to the sender. This should be the actual flow of the process. So what is the flag? Flag is that your SMTP should be SMTP UTF-8 enabled, which is very important. The SMTP UTF-8 option should be enabled, and it should used within the mail transfer protocol to signal the support of EAI by an email server. If the email server in the path are showing this signal, then there are lesser chances that your email fall back or lost in the transit. So what are the overhead for the developers? That mail headers need to be updated to support EAI. They must support, or they should support, SMTP UTF-8 option. Mail headers are usually used by mail software to get more information how to deliver email. So this is the basic information regarding the mail headers. And I hope a lot of developers and system administrators know the importance of mail headers. Next, please. So now in my in the email diagram, we have seen that there is SMTP only. Now, what protocol changes we need to to be the EAI enabled? So SMTP. So we have to check, is SMTP is augmented to support EAI, or SMTP has a signaling flag to specify support of EAI, and all SMTP server in the path must support EAI to successfully deliver the email. So one has to develop a mechanism to test by enabling the SMTP UTF-8 flag. Again, we have to check POP and IMAP protocols if they are augmented to properly support EAI and have a signaling flag to specify support of EAI. But in the case of POP and IMAP, one has to understand that there could be half support for EAI because there is a mechanism called downgrading, and people who are actually dealing with these email systems, they actually know the downgrading is there, so that if some email system is not EAI compliant, then it could downgrade. But one has to understand that the downgrading look interesting, but it may cause any issue. I mean, it may cause so many issues. So it is advisable that to implement EAI systems, one has to avoid downgrading mechanism if you can. So it is a very important point to note that. Then again, some protocol changes in SMTP that is specifically how to announce the support for EAI, that you have to enable EHLO SMTP as UTF-8, and for SMTP client you have to show mail SMTP UTF-8. So these are the changes required. Email body generally supports UTF-8, and for EAI and IMAP you have to enable UTF-8 equal to accept. So how to enable? You have to invoke the accept command with the UTF-8. So these are the important points while implementing the EAI on your system. Next slide, please. So I'm again, explaining these simple steps. So sender and the receiver, you are sending an email, and if all the servers or all the mail servers in the path are SMTP with UTF-8 enabled, then there is no issues in between, and you will get your EAI email without any issues. So what are the important parts? All email parties involved in the delivery path have to be updated for EI support. And in the previous slides, we have shown that how to enable EI support in the delivery path. If a single SMTP server in the path does not support EI, then email is not delivered. So these are the very important points. Next. So this is the demonstration that if we have two users, user 1 and user 2, I have used one Idn domain, one EAI in Hindi, and one is, you can say on .com, but on the mailbox name is, UTF-8 enabled. So the setup one is using Mailmate on Mac OS, Mac operating system with SMTP UTF-8 enabled. The mail server infrastructure is the using his own mail server infrastructure on Mac OS. The another one is the Gmail web interface. No configuration necessary apart from the domain and user. Gmail is actually useful, while sending and receiving the EI emails using Google Mail Server infrastructure. So user one is Kevin @example.com with the Unicode characters, or Harish @nixie.bharat. So I have created two emails. You can use any of them. You can use similar emails with them to test that how things are working, and that is how we will set up the user and the server and the system. Next. So for user one, it is inbound email server is Courier as IMAP, and its outbound email server is Courier as SMTP server. So Courier is the software. Courier uses a postfix relay server acting as a pure mail transferring agent. So Courier is very important, and it's a software. For user two, it is inbound and outbound email server are Google Gmail servers, and confirming advertised mail server is Postfix for kevin@example.com. So you can see that if I use the dig command to see if mail is how mail is transferring, so dig and then its equivalent Unicode, which is starting with X and dash dash. So when we use the dig command, it will give you the result as in front of you. And finally, the Kevin @example.com using the Mailmate and Courier in between, and it is transferred to the Gmail. Okay, next. So we have used Postfix in the setup, and how to configure the Postfix, that you have to enable SMTP UTF-8 equal to yes in the main configuration file. The location of main configuration file is given. It's simple. It is etc/postfix, and you have to edit it, and you have to enable the SMTP UTF-8, and then all you have to use all this configuration as given in this slide. And you can see that the domain name does not need to be an IDN, but we also have this host name and virtual mailbox name. These all are the configurations present in the main.cf, this which is configuration file, and this is and this file is really useful for implementation of EAI, and this is for postfix only. Next. Now, how to configure Courier? So these are the specific EI configuration requirement. Now you have to go to the etc directory, then Courier, and then default domain, and then you have to set all these domain as we have used example.com, and then the email would be successfully delivered. Next. So how to do the Mailmate configuration? So Mailmate is a commercial email client on Mac operating system. So you can see that using the Courier and running Courier software as its IMAP and SMTP server, these are the setup you have to do, which is given in the screenshot, which is attached in the slide, and you have to set the SMTP UTF-8 enabled Boolean value to yes. So there is a Boolean value which has two things, two flags to set. One is yes and one is no. So we have to enable SMTP UTF-8 by setting this Boolean value to yes. Next. So when this all setup is done, then you can see the message sent from the Mailmate, which is a MUA, mail user agent, and it is received on Gmail. So that is the Kevin and the Kevin on the Gmail. So that is how the mail sent. You can see that message sent from Mailmate to the message received on Gmail. If setup is done correctly and all the configurations are done correctly, you will receive your message. Next. So I hope things are, I know, a bit technical, and when we do, when we implement by your hand, there could be some issues, but if all the setup is done correctly and all the usernames and all the standards and RFCs are used correctly, there would not be the issues. But uh, we have to see some important points, and some of the important points are one of them is case folding. So when we use Kevin and Kevin in English or in ASCII encoding, then they are actually handled as a same user. If I am writing Kevin in small cases and upper cases, they are handled as a same user. The case folding is automatic for ASCII local parts, but when we use Kevin and Kevin, which is not ASCII, and they are on the Unicode, they are not same. So there could be issues that mail sent from Peter at the rate ygenie.ca to Kevin at the rate example.com email was not delivered, because there could be case folding issues, and we have to understand these case folding issues with respect to the Unicode, because Unicode case folding is typically not done by the server. So we have to handle case folding very carefully. Typically, in ASCII email addresses, the local part can be uppercase or lowercase. In UTF-8 encoding, case folding is not the same as ASCII. So this is the main, important point regarding the case folding. Next. We also discussed about avoiding interpretation as spam. So spam filtering is very important while implementing AI, and all the respected speakers already discussed it, but it is again very important to look into. So spam filtering may think AI is spam even with SPF and DKIM enabled. This is because the spam filter does not know about EAI. So new top level domains and international domain names may also be viewed as spam. So spam filtering, because it doesn't implement AI thing. So we have to make sure that the context database contains the EI email of the contact, so that there are no issues regarding to the spam filtering. Sorry, some points are repeated on the slides, and it is very important that if your your EAI email is not in the contact list or in the contact database, it would be there are more chances that it will be considered as the spam. So you have to maintain the contact database and very carefully while implementing the EAI email system. Next, please. So mail software and services. So basically, the some software and services which shows the EAI support is Mailmate, which we have used in our setup, and Mac operating system. The version is 1.9.4, which is minimum. For Postfix, which is a MTA, open source MTA, the version 3.0 minimum is required. For Courier, IMAP, which and POP and SMTP, server and protocol version minimum 1.0 is required, and IMAP version 5.0.8 is required for EI support. Some of the software as of October 2019, it's like 1 year back, but I mean, this is not the recent data, but still it may be useful. That Dovecot, Zimbra, and Mozilla Thunderbird does not support EAI, and services which are actually supporting EAI is Gmail and Outlook. And if you want to get more details about the EAI support, then there is a document USG 021A, which is available at usg.tech. So what is the final conclusion about all this, discussion, setup, and configurations? That EAI is essentially supporting UTF-8 local parts of an email addresses, which also means supporting in the headers, and also require changes to the mail servers and the mail clients. It's not just supporting UTF-8 in the local part. Okay, so this is a more granular information. All SMTP servers in the path must be AI enabled to deliver the mail to the destination. Courier and Postfix are the two open source software that support EAI with very limited changes in the configuration. So these are open source software you can use to create your own EAI system. In configuration files, be careful to use A labels, U labels, or both depending upon the situation. So these are the 4 important points one has to understand while deploying EAI. Next. So these are the additional information, and recently USG 028 document is released by Universal Acceptance Steering Group. It is the considerations for naming internationalized email boxes, that how to because while implementing EAI, the consideration for naming internationalized email boxes are really important, and this document is intended for email system administrators to help them provision mailboxes, configure and manage system compatible with internationalized email addresses. So it outlines all the consideration for naming internationalized mailboxes and helps administrator to make good choices when setting their mailbox name policies. For example, if I am using Harish 123 and I am using Harish 123 in the 123 also written in the Devanagari script. So which mailbox would be chosen by the administrator? So this is just one of the example. Okay, but how to how to make the policy that one username would not impact other username and would not create any confusion. So this document is really important while implementing EAI. Next. So UA readiness in 2020, you can see that only 9.7% of email server are potentially configured to support email addresses in local languages and in scripts. And if these servers are configured, correctly, then there would be lesser issues and much more UA compliance would be seen across the globe. Only 11% of the top 1,000 websites globally support email addresses in Arabic and Chinese. So now I hope with the help of our universal acceptance ambassador local initiative, as well as all the important stakeholders, mighty Nixie, would come together and we find out that how many email addresses in Hindi are supports EAI, and we can create a test suite, or we can come up with some results to showcase that how Hindi email IDs are doing. And I'm just right now saying Hindi because it is kind of widely spoken language in India. But apart from that, we may also go for Hindi, Bangla, Marathi, and Tamil, Telugu. Top four important. I mean, all the languages are important, but most spoken languages in India. So for them, we can do some testing using .in and .bharat domains. So one of the important statistics is that 98.3% of the top 1,000 websites globally support email addresses with the short top level domains. So this is kind of encouraging statistics for UA enthusiasts. So thanks for this presentation, and I would also be trying to cover some of the latest test results, and I'm really thankful for those test results by Universal Acceptance Steering Group. I hope Shushantu ji would be starting my second slide so that I could share the results with the audience. So I am using the slides created by the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. And uh, while earlier we were talking about EAI, that how we can deploy. So EAI has, two levels, EAI 1 and EAI 2 support. So what is the EAI level 1? That we can exchange mail with EAI addresses. For example, I have harish@nixie.bharat, or Aman has the email aman@datamail.bharat, and we are exchanging emails successfully. So that is level 1. Okay. What is level 2? That level 1 plus supports EAI addresses. That means that one EAI addresses that we are also exchanging and supporting, as per the, there were so many issues in the test results. We have seen that. So we have linkification, we have all those kind of support present with the level 1 support. So that is the level 2 support. Next, please. Mail system components. I have also discussed with you what is mail system component, and again, I may skip these slides. So mail user agent, desktop mail program, it is present on your phone and tablet, and also the webmail. The MSA or MTA, MSA accept mail from the MUA for further handling, MTA transfer mail to the other system, and MSA, mail submission agent plus mail transferring agent, often combines in the same package. So again, this is just for the refreshing your memory. Then mail delivering agent, store incoming mail, client manage with POP protocol or IMAP, and generally used by mail user agents to retrieve the mail. We have seen it in our diagram. Does a service provide EI addresses for its users? So that is very important. That is what we have not discussed earlier. Mail service provider, MSP. So do we have any mail service provider which actually providing us EI addresses for the users? Like Google is providing the email IDs in Hindi. You can easily sign up and create your email ID in English. Sorry, I used Hindi earlier. So is there any service provider which which is providing email ID in the local languages in India, for example Hindi? So as far as I know, there is XGen Plus. You can create your Hindi email ID and you can use it. So XGen Plus is one of the example in India, which is MSP, mail service provider in EI. So there are some results by product. So CoreMail, it is a Chinese webmail and it is a good L2 support, good L2. For MSA and MTA. So I'm again repeating that an email system has several components. An email package has several components, and this package is composed of MTA, MSA, and MDA. So these MTA, MSA may or may not be compliant, may not be EAI compliant. So we have to test them separately and see how if they are compliant or not. So for CoreMail, it is good L2 compliant, level 2 compliant, and good L2 compliant for MSA as well as MTA. So they also provide an app which is known as, I think, Lunker. I may not be I think calling it right, but I think it's Lunker app, and which is not EI ready, and its MDA is very buggy. So the mail, even though it's L2 compliant, its MDA EI compliance is very buggy. So this point should be tested while we are testing in India. Next, MS Outlook. So as per the latest result, the webmail is L1 ready, MSA, MTA, L1 ready with minor bugs, and MDA not EI ready. So for MS Outlook, its MDA is not EI ready. Again, MDA is not complying with EI. Next slide, please. Yandex Mail. It provides ASCII addresses in Cyrillic domains, but no EI support yet in Mail User Agent, Webmail, MTA, MSA, or MDA. So again, it provides the only the Cyrillic domains, but no support for any EI in any of the email component. Next, Apple Mail. For Apple Mail, it's iOS app and Mac operating system on desktop. Mail is tested. No EI support in Mac OS and iOS 13, but good EI support added in iOS 14. So this was the latest announcement, and it's kind of very encouraging for the UA community that in iOS 14 there is a good iOS support and some support for Unicode folders. So you can also create folders with Unicode names. So this is one of the important development. Next, please. Thunderbird, you can see open source desktop mail. There is no EI support, some support for Unicode folders. So there is no EI support, not even in MDA, MTA, MUA, MSA, but you can create some folders with Unicode characters. Next. Roundcube webmail client. So mostly L2 ready if used with L2 MDA and MSA. So this is the condition. It is ready only when if some MDA is L2 compliant and MSA is M2 compliant. And there are some cosmetic display problems. Next slide, please. So Microsoft Exchange servers, L1 ready and ready with MSA and MTA. Again, MDA is not EI ready. Minor bugs in received headers and webmail not tested, similar to the Outlook.com. So its webmail is not tested, but its webmail is looks like Outlook.com. Exim and Postfix, these are the open source software, and both EAI L2 ready, MSA along with MSA and MTA, separate MDA needed for a full mail system. So we have seen that, and that generally MSA and MTA are EAI level 2 ready, but in most of cases MDA is not. That means mail delivery agent is not EAI L2 ready. So that is the big issue, and one has to, or USG or the whole UA community has to look into it, that why MDA are not supporting EAI. Next. So prior to this test, so this test was recently done by one of the key member of USG working group, John Levine. So before this, this testing was also done in 2000, I think in 18 or in 17, late 17, that in which the agency was Catalyst, and they have tested the webmail for Gmail. So Gmail webmail is L1 ready, and uh, during this test, the MTA and MSA is L1 ready, but for MDA, they are not, EI compliant. XGen Plus, everything is L2 level 2 ready for the webmail only. So for Courier, open source Linux, again, BSD mail package, and this is again open source software. It is L2 ready, MTA, MSA, and MDA. Only EI ready MDA we know. So for Courier, its MDA mail delivery agent is EI ready. So which is not tested, SendMail and FetchMail are not tested for during this testing. Next, please. So these are the some final comments by the testing group, that web application which is used for this testing purpose is written in Python version 3, test script in Python version 3, and released on GitHub with BSD license. So this is the link. You can go and see that how this script is working, and you can also replicate this test and you can also generate and come up with some wonderful results to help the UA community. Next, please. Summary. Finally, several level 1 ready mail user agent and webmails are present. Some level 2 ready mail submission, MSP, mail service, provider with mail user agent are there, and several level 1 ready mail submission agent and mail transfer agent are present, and there is only L1 and L2 ready MDA, which is Courier. So all the credit for these results goes to the Universal Acceptance Steering Group as well as Mr. John Levine. I am just there to explain these results for the audience during this workshop. Thanks from my side, and with this I have concluded my presentation, and if there are questions, I will try to answer them. Otherwise I will answer the on email.
Right. Thanks so much, Harish. Anand, if you can open up the podium for questions, you can do that. Meantime, thanks, Harish, for taking it up. I know, see, for these areas, the tasting is the first level which we can do, which is with the help of some of this systemic approach. But widely, we still need some kind of a test bed or the platform where people can come and test it on various components or features of UA. probably were still not there. But all these results, all these experiments being done at different levels under this UASG drive, that people can at least understand some of these nuances and see what are the components they need to take up as a priority and taste it to make them more compliant. See, with this, I think engaged initiative across, we are moving fast. There are good stories. We thought of sharing Apple story, which is a very good story, as Harish mentioned also, that at the OS level, at the very tool level, okay, when they apply those fixes, so that it doesn't really bother at that end user levels. Because when I go and create my email using Gmail, I as an end user should not bother about how I can name my mailbox or or my username and others. I should be going and freely choosing those options. And so there are twofold approaches. One is at this high level tool levels, all these initiatives are going on. Platform levels, all these initiatives are going on. Library levels, all those plugins have been built. So there's a wide range of activities happening all across, and we like people to come forward, one with to stating their problems and saying, okay, this is where we stand. We fail to adhere to certain things, and other is sharing some of the fixes that they have done so that others can take it up and make it a community which can promote universal acceptance. So I'm opening up for any questions people have. If you see at your own area you need some kind of a support to make it compliant, and maybe first of all to test whether your system is actually compliant or not. Maybe you can take help from UASG and this the steering group, and we this UA ambassadors for this, and we will be happy to help you out on this. Samiran, you there? If you can just add something from your side, if you feel. Samiran is dropped off, huh?
Yes, I think Anupam is having a question. I think he raised an. Anupam, do you have any question?
Can you read that out? I don't see it here.
So thanks, Harish, for this presentation. I really loved the way you explained the things. So I understand you have been working with the community for quite some time in raising the awareness on this particular subject. Okay. So what is the prime bottleneck which you are facing?
Okay, so the prime bottleneck with the community is that they don't even know that the domains in local language exist. Okay, so that is the first problem. And then the second thing is that I mean the IDN domains are not able to create any you can say trust with the community. For example, if they will see some Punicode characters in the browser, they will fear that what is exactly appear in the browser, because there are so many settings or so many updates people are not actually do on their system, so that they would actually see the Unicode version of a domain. So these are the the in short I can say that the capacity building is required. So many in so many, I would say, in in the important areas of the country where people are using domain names regularly. In another sense, that we have to do more capacity building workshops on universal acceptance, and we have to make we have to dovetail the industry and make them understand why it's important. So this is kind of bottleneck is there when industry understand that yes, this is useful for us, they will come up with the these solutions. Because during my workshop in Bhopal, so there is a smart city center or smart city incubation hub in Bhopal. So when I have presented about this universal acceptance, they have come up with wonderful solutions using different technologies, and they means the engineers and developers. Okay, so we have to first do the outreach, let them understand what is the issue, why UA is important, and these are 10 big issues for them. And eventually they will easily come up with the scripts or some small solutions or a open source project, and they will uh, solve all these problem. Let's say they will come up with a solution that how to make this one component which is not L2 compliant, which is MDA, mail delivery agent. So I mean, this kind of uh, uh, capacity building is required. I hope I have answered your question.
No, Harish, I think you have answered it beautifully, because that is my understanding also, that trust at some level is an issue with the acceptance of universal acceptance. Okay, if I can say so, that the trust from the user side, that whether the domains which till yesterday were in English, I was at least trying to make some sense of it. Now, the same domain in a Hindi with lot of matras and all, I really don't understand it. If you talk about any South Indian language or some language which are more artistic in nature, it is really very difficult for to understand that whether it is a right website or not. So in when a domain is IDN compliant, okay, uh, is there something which exists now to say that it is the right website?
So basically, I have seen one development on Edge browser. When you type a domain name, which is, I mean, a local domain name, local language domain name, it will categorically show you in the side browser that it is a IDN domain.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
is one of the development I have seen.
That is good. This was not known to me. So if Edge is supporting this, I think then it is going to be a good way ahead in terms of users having this trust thing solved, which otherwise is appearing to be a big issue.
Yes, yes. So another point I want to add that again, this Mac OS version 14 come up with this EI support across the including Hindi language. Okay, and there are also 5 to 6 languages. They have just put all the details on their website. So this is one of the another important fact for UA enthusiasts, that actually things are moving forward. But still there are problems, and we the community have to come together and find out the solutions specifically for .in and .bharat, because still if I'll talk I mean I will discuss or pay some attention in terms of the country, then we have to take care of our IDN CCTLD and IDN, I mean our CCTLD also, as China and other countries are doing. I know there are so many questions regarding China, but still we have to also think that that our country is a, a country in which we love to our languages is very it's we are close to the languages. Okay, and we think in our languages. So if we take the internet, to, to the people, to the next 500 million internet users which are not familiar with the, English and ASCII based alphabets, then this is the universal acceptance is the, key factor, so that they could use the internet in their, local language. And that is how we can make Digital India, Skill India, Startup India, as a success.
Okay.
In fact,
thanks.
In fact, just to add what Harish says, Anupam, is that lastly,
like... Oh, Santara, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly. It is very important that when you have more and more content on your local language, you'll see more and more engagement of these end users to get those contents, consume those contents. Now, at some point in time, that was only the scope of this, so-called UA. That okay, I can read the content in my own language, but probably we need to now go something beyond, where the world also recognizes that unless I am actually converting my contents or whatever standards we have into a language which can be consumed easily by those community, I am not reaching out to the entire community. And there are good stories. In fact, tomorrow also we have that when you have some standards created, and I can cite some of the examples like say Scrum or these standards where they have considered Bengali as one of their languages where the Scrum guide has been released. There are, in fact, last versions, Hindi also one of the versions where 2017 versions they have this, other than 32 other languages that they had. So what I'm saying is now today I think people started understanding the importance of going beyond only some kind of an entertainment or contents as the point of consumption, but some other things where you do business also has to be aligned with the languages of the people, on the ground. Yes, Anand.
Yeah. I was just going through the conversation, Harish. One thing from developer or a system administrator point of view, we have tried our hand in implementing AI solutions as a test bed, or we are doing that. What we lack over here is something kind of, whenever you are implementing something on open source solutions or using open source platforms, so there are lots of technical community out there. If you are stuck somewhere, then definitely you have some configurations available, or people or community are talking about those configurations. If like some of the like MUA is not compatible, or like with Postfix Thunderbird is not compatible, or like Courier is compatible, but there is some issue in implementing email headers that are there. So we had found out very unique problem statements. On those problem statements, I have seen that very less community involvement, even on the internet. Also, very less community mail forums are there, which is actually working on it, or we have something like ready-made solutions or configurations or some discussions available on the technology side of it. So if you're talking about .in or .bharat, let's say there are lots of small organizations, or there are lots of people who want to implement their own mail servers, say, for that point of view. We don't have actually a test bed implementation, or a kind of the implementation which can be taken as a template, or some open source implementation, so that if anybody is stuck there, then there is a community which they can look forward into, and they can solve their problem. So this kind of thing can be an because India is having this technology people and community out there, and we have US and EU ambassadors. Why do we go ahead and have a similar kind of implementations, or a community out there which can actually solve these small issues? And you will see, we have seen that very small issues and very small configurations that is required over there, and if somebody is not very deep into the technology, it will be very hard to implement, and from there the organization or the person will lose interest.
Right? Exactly.
That's one of the observations.
So basically, Anand, thanks for your observations and recommendations. But I would also tell you that we were actually working on these issues, and in 2019 we have done 10 to 12 workshops, physically, and we have covered almost all North India except Jammu and Kashmir. So basically, we were planning to do more, but this COVID came into the picture, and things were like mostly online. And but still, we are doing fine. And in 2020, we are actually done a lot of things at UASG level also. And I think you all are the part of the different UASG working groups. And but I hope. In the next year would be more smooth for all of us, and we will go we will provide the solutions with the exponential speed. That is what
Yeah.
I can say right now.
Yeah, one thing here I would wish to add. So if there could be an online community for this, like UA is having a website, uh, is there a way that the technical implementations or this can be in a mailing list or kind of a platform where these problem statements can be solved? Like in
So
the workshops, if there is some problem that has been faced by some participants, if like 10 participants are joining a workshop and there were 20 problem statement that has come across and it has been solved, so if it is online, then definitely it will benefit the large audience.
So basically, we have almost developed a, domain. So so hopefully, Mighty or the responsible agency would release it to the public with all the source code. We are in the process of development of all the FAQs and how to create a domain with Hindi URL. What are the nuances, what could be the problems. We are preparing the document, and I hope soon it would be released for the public. I mean, that what I can hope right now.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Krish.
Yeah.
Okay. If there is no other questions, is there any questions out there, Anand? I don't see any in chat. You're mute, Anand.
There was a question, I think it has been answered, how DNS resolution happens
Yes,
when
yes,
IDN.
yes,
So
yes.
I
That has been answered.
don't see
Okay.
any other question.
Correct. I think thank you all. We're closing the sessions. We are giving back some 10 minutes, 15 minutes to you. But that's a good start. I think we had some of the challenges that we face, and we also have some of the remediations of how we set it up, how we address some of this. We are still on the journey, and I wish that we get more collaborations from the end users, the mail administrators, the small scale entrepreneurs, business people who like to set it up even from the scratch. Maybe that I need to set up my own mailboxes. I need to create my own IDN, and ready for that. See, the reason I'm saying this is the moment ICANN decides to open up in their next set of IDNs, and this, there will be a huge thrust of an interest will be on the ground. Now, whether they are ready to actually consume those, ready to align themselves, this is the time when they should ensure. So more engagements, and as you mentioned, Anand, that a good platform where the technical people can exchange their thoughts, can try out problems and solutions, and with this community we will all look forward to. Thanks for all your participations. Thanks for all the help, Anupam, Anand, entire this IW community, to at least giving some platform for exchanging of such thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks, Harish. Thank you so much.